And today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 3 Ps of profitability. You know, I work with business owners from all different sectors and all different industries. And everybody's interested in increasing profitability, obviously. Is anybody here not interested in increasing profitability? Of course you are. But we're going to do a little exercise today where I want to just demonstrate that doubling your company's profits, doubling them, isn't really difficult to do. It doesn't require any major overhauls. It's just the little tweaks. You know, when you think about the value of a racehorse, the horse that wins the race is worth double the horse that was a half second behind. You know, those details are the difference between good and great, right? Well, the best way for me to talk about the 3 Ps of profitability, which are pricing, people, and purchasing, is to give you a story, to give you a hypothetical example of a company that I've creatively named ABC Company. And how they took a look at pricing, they took a look at people, and they analyzed purchasing. And they made some slight tweaks and more than doubled their profits. I'll show you how they did it. A little bit about ABC Company. In 2016, they had annual sales of $2.2 million. Their net profit was $132,000, which is 6%. Their average invoice was $1,000, so they did about 2,200 sales transactions in 2016. That's a little bit about it. Okay, so the first thing that they looked at, somebody's overheating. So that's a, thank you, Mark. That's a little bit about the company. In 2017, what they decided to do is they took a look at their pricing. Remember, their average invoice was $1,000, right? And they decided, after having the price the same for a couple of years, without any price increase, even though their suppliers had increased pricing, minimum wage went up, all their other expenses went up, but they were afraid to raise their pricing. But in 2017, they decided they were going to add $25 extra per $1,000 invoice. That's it. 2.5. Average invoice goes from $1,000 to $1,025. They didn't lose any customers. But that did add $55,000 profits in 2017 over 2016. That little 2.5%, that 2.5 cents extra per dollar, that $25 extra per $1,000 added 55 grand. 2.2 million times 0.025, 2.5% is $55,000. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you raised your pricing? 5 years ago. You know, it happens all the time. Fear, F-E-A-R, false expectations appearing real. You know, we negotiate really well as business owners against ourselves. Okay? We could be our toughest negotiations against ourselves. ABC Company made $55,000 extra bucks. Then they decided to look at the second P of profitability, which is their people, which is labor. In 2016, their labor costs were $1,116,000. That's a labor rate of 50.76%. What that means is for every dollar they invoice, they spent 50.76 cents. So 51 cents of every dollar was spent on labor and labor-related costs. Labor-related being insurance, FICA in the U.S., and all the other expenses associated with direct labor. Well, the leadership team met. And after a half day only of doing some strategery, what they realized was 24 minutes equals $55,836 in net profits. How'd they get that? Well, let's take a look. In an 8-hour shift, there's 480 minutes. 480 minutes times 5% is 24 minutes. So if they were able to achieve in 456 minutes what they were previously achieving in 480 minutes, and just shaving that 24 minutes off, they would reduce their labor costs, $1,116,000, by 5%, which is over $55,000. How are they going to do it? They said, well, you know, we need to work faster. We need to make sure that our team is working a little bit more conscientiously and faster and more efficiently. Maybe we need to take a look at the layout of our production floor, move equipment to the right places, put supplies in more convenient places. Just get everybody working a little bit quicker. The other thing is we're noticing we have no discipline on our breaks and our meal times. A 15-minute break is 25 minutes, or a 15-minute break is a couple 15-minute breaks, or it's a 15-minute break and then a smoke break. A half-hour lunch is 40 minutes, 45 minutes, can be an hour, or it could be 45 minutes and then a smoke break. So they decided, you know what, we are going to put our shift leaders in charge of this, really make sure that they're doing a better job of watching this. In fact, they put a system in place that people are going to punch out and punch back in for breaks and meals. Just an accountability. The other thing, guys, is they just wanted to be mindfully aware that 24 minutes is worth $55,000. And to talk about it, to talk with their team about it, to show them, to explain that pay raises, promotion opportunities, capital for advancement, for an acquisition or a geographic expansion, an organic, or maybe diversification into another product or service offering. That all comes from profits. So be mindfully aware that every minute matters. And for the team to be committed to producing the same amount in 456 minutes as they were previously doing in 480 minutes. That's 5% reduction in labor costs. Guys, that's $1,116,720 times 95%, because you shaved that 5% off. There's your new labor cost. There's your savings. Where does that savings go, that $55,836? Directly to the bottom line. Well, what happened is they were working more quickly, they paid less overtime. By the way, overtime was a time and a half, so they actually saved a little bit more than that. When somebody resigned, they didn't fill the position because they were able to do more with less people. Guys, a 5% increase, or decrease rather, in labor is profits. That's 24 minutes per shift per person. ABC company found that was very easy. So then they looked at purchasing, the third P. They had pricing, they had people, now they're purchasing. Well, their non-labor related expenses out of their $2.1 million of total expenses, $951,280 was non-labor expenses. And they looked at those expenses and they realized that there's about $500,000 that was negotiable. The other dollars were not negotiable. There was nothing they could do about it. It is what it is. But $500,000 they had. So what they did is they decided to competitively bid their supplies. They had been buying their supplies from the same vendors. They were loyal. Now they put it out to bid, which, by the way, got their loyal vendors to sharpen their pencil a little bit. They didn't switch vendors on all cases, but they competitively shopped. They consolidated and they refinanced loans. They eliminated unnecessary expenses. They found that they belonged to associations that they didn't attend. They were getting subscriptions that they weren't even using. They were marketing in places where they were certain they weren't getting a return on investment. They negotiated fast pay discounts with their vendors. And they were able to reduce their negotiable expenses, that $500,000, by 5%. They did it. They saved $25,000. They put $25,000 extra to the bottom line. So when they raised their pricing by 2.5%, they got free money. They didn't notice a difference. They didn't sell they didn't have one extra sales transaction, and they got all that extra profit. When they were able to save that 24 minutes per shift, they were able to put more to the bottom line. When they got that $25,000 of reducing their negotiable expenses, when you add those together, guys, they increased their profitability by $135,936. So let's look at that. In 2016, that was their profitability. In 2017, that was their profitability. Guys, look. We all get into business. And we work really hard. We use winning strategies to get us from point A to point B. Everybody that's in here that's been in business more than 5 years, congratulations, you've done an awesome job. You've beaten the odds. But at some point what happens, it's very common for us to get sucked up into the whirlwind of the day-to-day in our business. It's the tyranny of the urgent. It's where every day becomes a continuation of yesterday, where we settle. Remember, the enemy of great is good enough. And we settle. And we start thinking about what we should be doing, what we could be doing. But the strategic things can always wait until tomorrow. Today there's customer orders, there's employee issues, there's payroll that needs to be done. There's emails that need to be returned, there's proposals, there's vendor issues. There's all the noise of the day-to-day that stops us from looking at our pricing, looking at our people, looking at our purchasing. It's the day-to-day that gets us and keeps us from really looking at our sales process and asking ourselves, are we using the best sales model effect available? Are our salespeople bringing in new business, or are they just doing a great job looking busy? Is our marketing providing a return on investment, or are we continuing to market in the same places we always have, and we're not tracking it? Are we throwing money away? Do you have people on your team that don't fit? They don't fit your culture, but you buried your head in the sand because you'll deal with it tomorrow. What other issues are you dealing with tomorrow? How long have you been dealing with those issues until tomorrow? What about strategic planning? Do you have a strategic plan that you're actually using? I mean, to not have a strategic plan that you're actually using in your business, if you don't have that, it's like a builder building a skyscraper without a blueprint. It's like trying to put together a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle without the benefit of the box cover. What about systems in your business? Is everybody doing the same thing the same way? Because if they're not, then at most you only have one person doing it the best way, at most. It also means you have variation. Variation kills your brand. What about building the value of your business? How are you going to leave this thing someday? Are you going to sell it outright? And if so, have you built maximum value in your business? Because you only get to sell it once most of the time. Or do you have a family member or members, kids, that are going to come up and take the business? And are you actively working on developing them to be able to take over the business someday? Are there gaps between where they are and where they need to be? How long have those gaps been there and what have you done about them? Guys, this is the difference. It's the strategic stuff that can always wait until tomorrow. That is the stuff that can make your business worth twice as much. You know, ABC company didn't need to raise their pricing. They could have kicked that off another day, another year, another couple of years. But when they finally did it and confronted that fear, they put $55,000 extra dollars to the bottom line. It was just with the change of a button. ABC company didn't need to meet with their production team and say, guys, $24,000. I'm sorry, 24 minutes equals over $55,000. They didn't need to do that. They could have put that out till the next day. But they didn't. They approached it. And not only did they do that, but when they did that, they gave their production team new meaning. Because guess what they found out? They found out that their team wanted to be great. And they rose to this challenge, and they wanted to do it. And their team was more engaged. And they said, geez, I've got ideas. All we got to do is move this piece of equipment here. We have finishing over there. This is stupid. The team had the ideas, but they didn't need to do it, but they did it. They finally took the time to get out of the day-to-day to do that. They didn't need to go through their $900 and something thousand of expenses to determine that they had $500,000 of negotiable expenses. And they didn't need to competitively bid. It was $25,000. They were already profitable, right? That business owner paid himself. He made an extra $132,000 a year. He was good. But that's $25,000 of his money, his company's money, his family's money, or her family's. It was right there. So what I want to just do today is to ask you, where is it in your business? Where do you have the opportunity to make some minor tweaks that can double your profitability? How would doubling your profitability, what would that mean to you? What would it mean to you if you built the leadership depth on your team so that you had the ability to come and go as you please? What would it mean to you if you addressed all those problems that you've thought about, you've kicked the garbage can about, but you haven't done anything about for years? What would that mean to you? Guys, again, the enemy of great is good enough. Here's my challenge to you. You all came to this seminar, and, you know, we think we're coming because we want to get smarter, because we think that knowledge is power. But knowledge is not power. That's the biggest lie perpetuated. There's a lot of geniuses out there that are living on the streets. It's the smart, strategic, intentional application of knowledge that's powerful. Nothing happens without action. If you leave here right now with some good ideas, that's great, but here's the reality. You're not going to do anything different when you get back to the office. You won't. You just wasted all your time coming. I mean, think about it. The last time you came to a seminar, you left with some good ideas. Let's all be honest. Did you do them? Did you? Did you put it into action and get a quantifiable, tangible return on investment? Probably not. And I don't want that to happen to you. I don't want you to come here to get smarter. I want you to come here to get better. So here's my invitation. With no obligation, no expectation, and no charge whatsoever. In the next 3 hours, you can call me or email me to schedule a free 90-minute session where I'm going to come in, meet with you, and take your biggest takeaway from this meeting and help you strategically put it into action so you can get a return on investment. And if you don't know where to start, that's okay. We'll get you going. I'll do with you what I did with ABC Company. Maybe not those same areas, maybe those same areas. But most importantly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you identify, get clarity over the most important things that you need to work on strategically in your business. And then, once you have that clarity, we're going to determine the best strategies that will help you achieve that. And then you will determine for yourself the single best strategy to start with. And then we're going to take that strategy, that top priority strategy, and we're going to identify everything that needs to happen for that strategy to be fully executed. So you have a roadmap, a must-do list, a checklist, a connected dots program to executing that strategy. But that's not all. By the time you leave that business, that meeting, that 90-minute session, you will determine for yourself 1 or 2 things that you can relatively easily complete within the next 7 days. Nothing overwhelming. It won't solve your problem, it won't meet your goals, it won't meet your objectives, but it'll be the first intentional, strategic steps toward doing that. And that's how it's done. Look, the secret to business success is the same as life success. Know where you're going and do the next right thing. As a good friend of mine, Rear Admiral in the United States Navy, used to say, it ain't easy, but it is simple. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be the last one to leave. You can come schedule that 90 minutes with me before you leave. Or, you've got my business cards. You can call me within the next 3 hours. It's 4:25 right now. You have till 7:25. Or you can email me before 7:25. And if you do, that 90 minutes is free. If you can't do it within the next 3 hours, that's okay. It's $2,500. Thank you very much. So I did